So with so much of the world's working forests not covered by certification programs, we think there's more than enough challenge for all of us. The other emerging issue I'd like to touch on is the growing concern of the impact bioenergy development may have on sustainable forestry. I think this is an area which people are just beginning to appreciate, and we're certainly doing our work here in Washington as well to try to educate people on this subject. You know, as the world looks to alternatives to fossil fuels, you know, we get concerned about government policies that are adopted around the world that redirect currently used forest fiber toward energy production. The EU Kyoto commitments, for example, have led the European electric utilities buying wood chips in the U.S. South and the upper Midwest and shipping them across the ocean to burn in their boilers to meet their green energy requirements. You know, think for a minute about the amount of energy it takes to move product from Minnesota to a port and then ship it to Germany. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if the fuel value of the chips isn't equal to the amount of energy that gets consumed transporting them across the Atlantic. For policies to be truly green, we need to look at sustainability from a global standpoint and take into account the broad impact that they have on the world's carbon levels. We also really need to understand the total energy consumption throughout the value chain, not just one part of it, and understand a very complex issue, which we're trying to make simple, and that's called, you know, life cycle analysis. You know, today the U.S. government's providing incentives for a variety of bioenergy projects that impact the forests. And we're concerned that in the forest, which is not an annual crop, it's a renewable crop, but it's not an annual crop. It takes about 20 to 25 years to grow a tree to maturity in the South. The crops, like fiber, that are harvested in an unsustainable way to meet government mandates and are supported by government subsidies may lead to an unintended consequence, which is less forest than we have today. And I don't think anybody, when they really start to think about that, wants to see that happen. So we believe that any legislation that encourages harvesting trees or converting land from forestry to agriculture should take into account the health of our forests and the forest products industry. And we shouldn't forget, if there's less fiber available for sustainable products such as, you know, our cups and the recycled packaging we make, people are going to go to alternatives. And right now we're benefiting from a lot of conversion in our cup business. People stop using foam, stop using plastic, and are using more paper. You know, that's a good thing. We don't want to see that go back the other way. You may have seen last week in the New York Times, or maybe it was 10 days ago, there was the Environment Committee of the European Parliament recommended reducing the EU biofuel target from 10% in 2020 to 4% because they were concerned about the impact it was having on forestry and the impact it was having on agricultural prices. And I think we like to see the U.S. government, you know, really take a second look at some of the things that we think are good ideas now, but are more complicated when you get into the details. So, in conclusion, I'd like to emphasize both the importance of certification and urge all of you to renew your sustainability efforts in that light. You can do this by looking for a certification label when you're making a paper purchase, or you're authorizing someone else to make a paper purchase, or when producing publications for your organization. Work with printers who are chain of custody certified and can put a sustainability label on your publication, or just share a cup of coffee with a colleague or constituent with one of our paper cups. It all makes a difference, and it helps maintain healthy and sustainable forests for generations to come. So I'd be glad to sit down and let you have dessert. I'd be glad to answer a question if you have one or two.